Friday in Simpsonville, South Carolina. And the last couple of days I've been very aware as I've sat with various people that we live in a world that's fairly discontent. We're discontent with the political system. We're discontent with the weather. But most of all, we seem to be discontent with material blessings. As I sat with various people and have been around various conversations, I recognize that there's a lot of discontent, a lot of wanting. And so I decided that I would go today to the exhaustive concordance on my computer and take a look and see how many times the word content or contentment appears. I was somewhat amazed. You'd think that would be a major subject of the scriptures. But in fact, I found only 23 references when checking 5 different translations. And of those 23, only 15 really apply to the term contentment. Because you see, the King James Bible uses the word content to talk about agreeing with or willing to do something. So when it came right down to the subject of contentment, there were only 15 verses in the entire Old and New Testament. But those that I've found reveal an awful lot. For example, in Titus chapter 6, verses 6 through 8, it says that godliness is even better when it's accompanied by contentment. That means you can be as godly could be, but it can get even better if you're content. And then we find that there's in Hebrews 13:5 a definite reference to covetousness, wanting what somebody else has or something you don't have. And it says, be content. In Luke chapter 3, verse 14, we have a word that says, be content with your wages. Well, how many people are content with their wages? Almost everybody feels they're worth more than what they're making and ought to be making more than they're making. Interesting, isn't it? When I looked for people that were content, I found only 2 in the scriptures actually expressing in words that they were content, or that the scriptures revealed that they were content. Quite interesting, too, because one of them was Moses. Moses, who had been raised in the Pharaoh's house and had the best of everything, went out to Midian and went to be in the home of a shepherd, and it says he was content. That's interesting, isn't it? And the second one is one, if anybody should not be very content, it was Paul. After all, look at all the things he went through. Look at how he was run out of town after town. Look how he was beat up and ridiculed and slandered and all of the things that happened to him. And yet Paul himself said on several occasions, several of the scriptures of the 15 that I found, I'm content. He said he was content with weakness and insults as long as it was for the sake of Christ. And in Philippians 4:11, he says, I've learned how to be content no matter what my estate. Because he states very clearly and very honestly, I've had riches, I've had good and wonderful food, and I've also had poverty. But I've learned, and the key word is learned. It's not something that comes naturally. I've learned to be content with whatever state I'm in. It's very, very interesting when you go through all of the scriptures and you look at all of the verses to find so few people in the Bible as well as in the world who are content. Who are content with what they have and not always coveting and desiring things that they don't need. You say, well, that's easy for you because you're comfortable. You're in retirement. You have adequate funds to live comfortably. But it hasn't always been that way for me, nor for my family. There are many times when we've eaten a lot of hamburger helper, when we've lived in FHA housing, when I didn't have a real future with a job because my one job was closing down and I hadn't yet received an offer for another job. When my health wasn't always good, when I needed a neck fusion or a hip replacement. And yet, I am content. And I don't feel like I need a whole bunch of other things. Does that mean my desire for material things is completely diminished? Absolutely not. I guess I'd like to have a new car, but I really don't need a new car. The one I have only has 23,000 miles on it. What do I need another car for? Could I afford a better car? Yes, I could. Do I need a better car? No, I don't. Do I look at these 4,000 and 5,000 square foot houses and beautiful subdivisions and say, that would be nice? Yes, I do. But I'm content with our condo. Is there anything in the scriptures that talks about contentment? 15 verses. And Paul says you have to learn to be content. You have to learn to be satisfied with what you have. And if you match that up with godliness, as Hebrew 13:5 says, or as Titus 6 verses 6 and 6 through 8, godliness is even better when it's accompanied by contentment. Been wishing you had something, coveting something, dissatisfied with your wages? Maybe we should all take a lesson from Paul, and we should learn to be content. Content no matter what estate we're in poverty, in riches, or someplace in between. I've learned to be content. And along with godliness, it'll bring you great joy. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.